What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button. That is the most important thing that you can do for me on this channel. What that does is that it helps to make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get the notifications, and it helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you're new to the channel or if you've been ghost watching for quite some time now, hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms to inform people about this news and information, and it also gives you a boost in the YouTube algorithm. And with all that out the way, let's get into today's news. And it looks like we have an update on the Harlem situation. For those of you who don't know, if you didn't watch my past video on this situation in Harlem, luxury apartments with pools in the sky, indoor pools in the sky, and kitchens with granite marble top. I think that's what it's called, granite marble top. And they have what do you call it? Indoor gyms and all this kind of stuff. Luxury apartments. I don't need to oversell this, right? Luxury apartment in Harlem that has been vacant for 10 years, been vacant for a decade. Meanwhile, rent is sky high in New York City. There is no affordable housing, homeless folks everywhere, and you had a vacant building, which was a luxury apartment complex, but was vacant for a decade, which was not accessible to the citizens. But as soon as Biden's migrants showed up to New York, now all of a sudden the red carpet was rolled out for Biden's migrants to get placed in these beautiful luxury apartments. It appears that the citizens made enough noise, so much so to the point that Eric Adams actually showed up to a town hall meeting, and it's looking like Eric Adams shut it down. He shut it down. No migrants over here in this luxury apartment complex. So let's check out this latest news clip. I believe this is from CBS New York as well, to get a little bit more detail and information on what's going on over there right now concerning this situation.
In Harlem tonight, confusion and anger from residents over a homeless shelter coming to the neighborhood. CBS 2's Ali Bauman was at a community meeting when the mayor showed up.
Harlem residents went looking for answers Thursday night about a once luxury building on Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard. The development has sat empty for the past decade until this week when neighbors noticed boxes of bunk beds being loaded in.
We were trying to find out what was going on, and we weren't getting any answers to our question.
They learned City Hall was
That's standard procedure concerning the migrant crisis. Nobody knows what's going on. They just place them in your communities and walk off in an attempt to establish non-citizen voting. Pay attention, guys.
planning to turn the building into temporary housing for asylum seekers.
No, I don't agree with it turned into a sanctuary for asylum seekers. No, when we have people right here that need the space.
While neighbors were gathering to share their concerns, Mayor Eric Adams dropped in to answer questions.
You are the mayor. We do not want to hear excuses.
But
Now, before we carry on, he said, you are the mayor. We do not want to hear excuses. I want you to look at that little small town hall get together. I want you to see how small that space is and the people who showed up, right? And I want to acknowledge the fact that Eric Adams actually pulled up there. For as much as I've critiqued Brandon Johnson and Eric Adams, I've always had significantly more respect for Eric Adams than Brandon Johnson, because Brandon Johnson is someone who's not respectable at all. Brandon Johnson is a coward. He's a good boy who does exactly what he's told by the DNC leadership team and does not break rank at all whatsoever. This man, he knew the job that he signed up for in Chicago when he took it, and he is following it through to the T. Whereas with Eric Adams will actually pull up on you at a town hall meeting. I've watched people protesting Eric Adams as he has been going about his day to do other mayoral duties, right? And the people will find out where he is. They'll be outside chanting and protesting him concerning the migrant crisis. And as opposed to taking his security detail, entering into his vehicle and leaving, I watched him take his security detail and walk up to the protesters and said, hey, what's up? You don't see this from Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson runs from the citizens of Chicago. Wherever the people are, Brandon Johnson is not. So this is, for me personally, a quality of Eric Adams that I've always respected. I've actually always respected that Eric Adams will pull up on you. If he hears that you're talking bad about him, he will pull up and say, "What's up?" Versus Brandon Johnson, who just tucks his tail between his legs, and takes his orders from the DNC leadership team like a coward. So anyways, let's get back into this clip here and see what Eric Adams had to say.
You are the mayor. We do not want to hear excuses.
But the mayor announced a change of course.
I told the team, find out what's going on here. We're not moving folks into a brand new building when you have long-term needs into a community. That's not going to happen.
The luxury building will instead be a shelter for long-term New York City families.
You will not have migrants and asylum seekers in that property.
Residents told me they're relieved for the change, but frustrated by the city's lack of transparency around opening a shelter in the first place. Many wish they had more input about the building's future.
We have too many homeless shelters in this community.
Regina Smith says she'd like to see it become affordable housing. 44% of households in this neighborhood are rent burdened, meaning over a third of their income goes towards rent.
We have a dearth of affordable housing. We're being priced out of the community. The lack of respect is absolutely appalling.
City officials say they do not yet have a timeline for when this family shelter will open. In Harlem, Allie Bauman, CBS 2 News.
Well, as it pertains to her speaking on the lack of respect comes from the fact that, and like I said in the last video concerning this situation, right? If you look at everyone who has complained and who has been upset about the migrant crisis, chiefly it's been Black Americans in New York and Chicago. Clearly, Black people aren't the only ones that are upset with the migrant crisis. But as it pertains to New York City and Chicago, Black Americans have been at the forefront of critique and just simply being upset, right? And she's talking about the lack of respect. And this is something that I talk about over and over again on this channel. Is actually one of the pillars of this channel is the fact that Black folks love voting blue no matter who. It's a religion to us. We do it religiously. We've been doing it to the tune of 85 to 90% since 1964. That's where the lack of respect comes from. Why do I have to respect you or care about anything that you have to say when I know you're just going to give me the vote regardless? That's why there's no respect. And that's why you get stepped on the way that you do. That's why you get stepped on like that. But I will say this much concerning Eric Adams, going back to him pulling up to the town hall meeting and shutting this whole thing down concerning him making a firm stance and stating that Biden's migrants will not be placed in this brand new luxury apartment with the swimming pool in the sky, right? He's working hard right now to rehab himself as it pertains to him getting ready to run for re-election, soon, right, in the near future. He's not going to step down and walk away. He has a huge uphill battle ahead of him, given the fact that, as far as I'm concerned, the DNC want nothing to do with him anymore. They're still very much so upset at him for the way in which he stepped out against Biden early on in the migrant crisis. Since then, he has tried to walk a lot of his sentiments back. Right. Since then, very recently, I believe it was about a week and a half ago, Eric Adams went as far as to say, and I didn't get an opportunity to report on this, but Eric Adams stated that he does not want to get rid of New York's sanctuary city status. He said it's here to stay, which is, as far as I'm concerned, right. And it was about maybe 2 months ago, if I remember correctly, 2 or possibly 3 months ago, when he went on his Latin America tour, right? Basically to tell, Hispanics, don't come to New York City when you cross the border illegally. And when he did a press conference during that tour, he was asked, does he believe that Joe Biden should close the border? And he said no. So number one, Eric Adams doesn't want to close the border. Number two, he doesn't want to get rid of New York City's sanctuary city status. I don't know how you rehab yourself, moving forward when you're saying these things. You don't want to close the border and you don't want to get rid of sanctuary city status when it's clear that New Yorkers want this to come to an end. At least from what I've seen so far, the sentiment has been that of get rid of sanctuary city status and close the border. I've seen that sentiment echoed more so in Chicago than in New York, but the sentiment is there in New York City. So it's going to be interesting to see how Eric Adams is able to, basically toe the line between trying to get back into the good graces of the DNC, but also at least pretend to lend an ear to the citizens and to make it appear as if he hears them and he's for them. And that's what he's doing right now in this situation when he's pulling up to the city hall or to the town hall meeting and telling them, I found out about this and I shut it down. He's trying to rehab his future campaign. So we'll see how this all plays out. That's all I have for you today concerning today's news and this situation in Harlem. So with that, please hit the like button on your way out. Share this video out on your social media platforms and subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel or if you've been ghost watching. And also follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to that will be in the description box below, as well as pinned in the comment section below. And until then, have a great afternoon. Peace.